All right.
Hello, family.
Hello, how you doing? Welcome back.
Welcome back to Hear Us Out. I'm Renee,
I am Kyrie.
and I want to say thank you to our family for subscribing and to continue to listen to the things that I guess our perspective and the things we have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say thank you to the new listeners who are here, who are
Mm-hmm.
interested in the things that we have to say. And again, thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.
And today we have another question from one of our listeners. Her name
Mm-hmm.
is Shani. And she asked about healing and forgiveness. Like, what does healing look like? What does forgiveness look like? And to elaborate a little bit more in regards to like cancer culture and how do we forgive ourselves for the things that we did not know?
Mm.
And so, definitely found that to be, an interesting
Yes,
topic, and it's one that we have
that
discussed.
we've touched on
Right.
many a times, and that you know it kind of is the overall tenor of the points that we're trying to make,
Hmm.
trying to, I guess, from our perspective, de-escalate the situation in a
Okay.
sense, because a lot of the episodes, like in talking about Afrocentricity and talking about war and power and faith and all these things, is that it all comes from the sense of these are not, they are tools, yes, but they are not meant to be weapons.
Right.
you know that because Afrocentricity and a lot of black thought is very militant,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying that it has no cause to be,
Right.
but when you set your philosophy up and your faith and your entire perspective of what the world is around this very militant point of view, then you get a very skewed perspective of what things are. It becomes something of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense, and you begin to miss things, or you begin to misunderstand,
Hmm.
and not being able to truly see what a thing is in and of itself.
Hmm.
you know it's all tinged, and it's very like and this very militant point of view.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the things that we have said, about, Afrocentricity and about, Black thought, is kind of liberating it from its connection to this perceived war and battle that we have to fight, and that we are existing in. And that, because if a thing is to stand on its own, then it needs to stand on its own. If it is intrinsic, if our philosophy is intrinsically about, combating and defeating them, then that's all you're ever going to get to doing.
Hmm.
That's even if you are able to do it.
Hmm.
That's all you're ever going to be about, is fighting and defeating and warring and battling and going about that. And that, but and we say that we're tired of having to live in that type of atmosphere of constantly living in fear, and feeling like our lives are at stake in every moment. Our society can kill us and get away with it.
Hmm.
We want something else. We don't want to exist in this oppressive, malaise of war and death and suffering. We want to be free from that,
Hmm.
you know, and to be free from that mindset, to be free from this, system that we're in. It requires a lot from us.
Hmm.
It requires a lot of, like I said, recontextualizing, literally learning a new language, in a sense. And so a lot of what we've been saying is trying to teach us a new philosophical language to be able to explain our predicament, one that does not ignore, the predicament that we're in, and the role that white people have played in, making sure
Hmm.
and ensuring, the oppression that we have to deal with on a daily basis. One that doesn't ignore that, but also doesn't become fully about that
Hmm.
either. It's something that can exist in and of itself. And for a lot of people, that sounds like forgiveness.
Right.
Like you're trying to forgive them. You're trying to do this, trying to
Yeah,
do that.
because some of our listeners would say, well, it sounds as if you're allowing them to get away with it.
Yeah,
And that's not what we're saying.
not the slightest.
What we're saying is that it's something like what Amos Wilson mentioned, right? Is
Mm.
that we cannot use European models to solve African problems, right? And we have said that when we describe white people,
Mm.
right, we describe them as this warring warring type. We use I'm just talking about just the general language is that
I would go more towards cruel,
that too.
cruel,
Yeah.
sadistic,
Mm-hmm.
sociopathic.
Right. And so
You know,
and so if that's what's if that type of thought has moved us this way, right? That's what this oppression, that type of thought has moved us this way. Then what is the move that's going to get us away from that?
but I don't think the thing is that I think a lot of people, a lot of black people will say that that thought hasn't moved us this way. It's failure to acknowledge that thought, failure to acknowledge the
Hmm.
position that we're in and the war that we're fighting,
Oh, so all right.
that
Yes,
has
yes,
led
okay,
us here.
right. That we have not accepted that we are at war, basically, and
Hmm.
that's been a proverbial thought for like 40. At least when I think about Francis Cross Wilson and
Hmm.
things like that, is that we don't think that we are at war,
Yeah,
and so since we are not, since we think that we are not at
we're
war, we're
not
not
acting like yeah.
responding in the way that we should be responding when you are at war,
Hmm.
and so
So a lot of the question comes down to how to get us to respond that way.
right.
How do you get people to accept the fact that we are at war
Hmm.
and and respond accordingly and move accordingly?
Right. And so for that type of thought, you wouldn't think, forgiveness would even come into the
I mean,
equation.
it doesn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That type of, thought would not lend itself.
because that's it's like it stands, in my opinion, it stands in opposition to what we're saying.
Right.
Is that because the entire tenor of what we've been saying is that we aren't at war.
Hmm.
This isn't a battle. This is nothing that grandiose. This is life.
Hmm.
And when you create a philosophy that is suited for war, which is this bad thing that we all agree that wars never finish anything,
Right.
that wars only make things worse. It
Right.
has the historical precedent of doing that.
Right. It's
Right.
continuous.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Right.
the only thing that war ensures is more war,
Right.
more of itself,
Hmm.
right? And that this is not the predicament that we are in, and is
Hmm.
not one that we should strive for.
Hmm.
The predicament, like I said, it is life, and the problem we're having is one of living.
Right.
And it's a lot simpler, excuse
Hmm.
me, and a lot more insidious to the system and the human condition in itself.
Hmm.
So if you're trying to battle oppression, then it's not about fighting a war, because fighting a war is kind of it is an arm of oppression. Wars in themselves created soldiers and stuff. No one wants to be out there.
Hmm.
No one wants to be out there, but you feel like you have to for a myriad of reasons. But it all leads to a people doing a thing that they feel like they have to do.
Right. And
When
so
in
what happens
essence,
is that
it
when
it
that
takes a different point of view, something outside of that paradigm altogether.
Yeah, and so when you have that type of mindset, of war, and that it is a fight and it's a battle. So when you're not fighting, that,
You're never not fighting.
yeah, but that brings on a certain type of depression because you feel like you're not ever doing enough. It's always something else,
Mm.
and then it's like the pen is not great enough. The work is not great. It's always something
Because the
that's
enemy's
weighing.
always out
Yes.
there.
And so how can you forgive yourself when you feel like you're not fighting the way that you are supposed to be fighting?
Hmm.
And so how do you heal from that? Well, you can't heal. So what you do is, well, you fall into this type of madness
You
because,
become bitter.
yes, because you have this enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and it always seems as if he's always winning.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's wrong, he's winning. We're standing on the side of right. This is we're
Mm-hmm.
standing on the side of right, and we're still getting our asses whipped.
Mm-hmm.
And then everywhere we're trying and we're trying and we're trying, and yet he, switches the rules. He does whatever it is, and he's
Mm-hmm.
always winning. You know, and so how do you
Win that
win
war.
that war
Mm-hmm.
when it seems like everything you're doing, you're always
Mm-hmm.
losing? And that's because the way the fight has been set up has been dictated by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Is that what you're fighting against? Is you're caught in a trap that is much bigger than racism,
Mm-hmm.
right? What you're trying to do now, like I said, it is the mark of futility. It's like trying to outrun the wind, trying to outwrestle gravity. You create a scale to forget its unfathomable scale.
Mm-hmm.
That it's them, it's white people. You have an end, beat them,
Right.
right? But yet you never can do that, and it makes you think that, well, white people just have so much and they have all this and they have all that.
Right.
It's because, like I think the point you were alluding to earlier is that you're fighting the wrong thing, or you're fighting wrong
Mm-hmm.
altogether,
Together. Right.
because it's not. This is a delusion. That's the trap.
Mm-hmm.
You get caught up in that language of society, and that's how, like we said many times before, that's how societies have been built. That's the currency upon which the world has moved for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Fire and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And you give so much of yourself to it, and you think it ought to move,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. Where it is moving, it's moving to the contrary.
Right.
It's constantly, like you said, it's constantly morphing and changing
Mm-hmm.
and beating you.
Right.
Right, and you feel so dejected and out of sorts. you know but you're not cognizant of, like you said, of the mania that you're feeding into.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a delusion. This is, like I said, this isn't war.
Mm-hmm.
This is life. You're not dealing with the enemy. You're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And things start to take a different shape when that happens. But all of that sounds like forgiveness. I
Right.
think the entire point of view of forgiveness comes from this idea of we are at war,
Mm-hmm.
that they are doing this to us.
Mm-hmm.
How can I forgive them?
Right.
So, and it's coming from that place, and it's like, if you can't accept the fact that white people aren't your enemy, right? If you can't accept just that, right? Then you ask, how what does forgiveness look like? Well, it doesn't look like anything.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't anything, because you can't forgive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And cause like I've said, minute, this to me, what we're talking about, it isn't forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's well, we say we don't want this anymore.
Yeah. So move away from it. Yeah.
But we constantly do
Do
things
things.
that
Right.
entrench us deeper. If you don't want this anymore, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna require a whole different language,
Right.
a whole different philosophical structure, one that isn't, like we said, that isn't a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
We can't weaponize, our philosophies and our religions and our beliefs and our societies. We can't do this and expect to get away from this madness that has entrenched us for so long.
Right. Because if we
Because you're
are
creating it.
yeah, and the thing is that if you're really listening to the things that you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
is that these are the things that has happened to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We say that they weaponized, they did this, they did that, so we feel like we have to respond
Mm-hmm.
the exact same way, and that we just have to just do it, more powerfully, more in a more organized fashion, or whatever the
But the
case may
thing
be.
is, and you're right.
Yes,
If you want to win the war,
then that's exactly
he
what
who
you
has
need to
the
be doing.
best arms wins
Wins
the
the war.
war. So go ahead about your business.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what you're saying.
Right.
That's not what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking for a way out. And winning the war won't take you out. It never
Does.
has.
Right. It never does. Right.
It's going to take you further in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said with when we were talking about the Nation of Islam,
Mm-hmm.
and how they talked about the white devil, and I remember it must have been like 15, 14 when we read Elijah Muhammad's
Mm-hmm.
Message to
Yeah.
the Black Man, and I said even then
Mm-hmm.
that if your entire religion is about the white person being the devil, what happens when you get past the white man?
Mm-hmm.
Will you ever be able to get past the white man if your entire faith is about him being your enemy, him being the devil?
Mm-hmm.
You will never be able to escape that
Right.
because
It's this,
it's
and that type of
all it's
setup is the
nothing but
same. And that type of setup is the same thing that's happening with us, right?
hmm
Is that you have made us your adversary. And so what you have done for hundreds, thousands of years is define the relationship that way. And you're constantly redefining any way that's keeping us
allows
as
you to
your,
maintain it.
yeah, to allow us to continue that adversarial type of relationship.
hmm
That's what has has occurred. So now, how do we change that? We have to change that in the way that we think about what's occurring
Happening
and
to us. Yeah,
what's occurring. No one is denying that that has happened. But what we're saying is that
but it's a denial of how it's happening.
yes,
hmm
and the thing is that it requires a shift for you.
hmm
You have to allow yourself to heal. You have to, the forgiveness is for you, and so,
But the thing is that if if you're if you're thinking you're at war,
mm-hmm,
then there is no forgiveness. There
mm-hmm,
can be understanding. You can understand the enemy, you know,
mm-hmm,
and that often leads to a sense of I would say empathy. I would guess, because
mm-hmm,
I forget who who exactly said this, but like, but I completely understand like my enemy. I understand them so much that I start to love them. Right? I forget who said it. It was some general. I just
yeah,
know that that's a saying.
mm-hmm,
I picked it up. I can't remember exactly who said it. It was some general back in Napoleonic era who said something like that.
okay,
But that type of once you fight that battle for so long, you know it's almost impossible not to gain some understanding of who it is you're fighting
mm-hmm,
and the way that they order
mm-hmm,
themselves, to be able to combat you. And that leads to an understanding, and sometimes it can lead to empathy, but it does not lead to what we would call forgiveness.
mm-hmm,
And it does not lead to that shift in perspective, to that way out
mm-hmm,
of the mire. So it's all about recontextualizing what it is that we're dealing with.
mm-hmm.
Like I said, demilitarizing our mindset. You know, stop putting up, the barbed wire on like empathy and respect and these things that we want, that we believe should be axiomatic to the maintenance of a society, right? But we're denied these things. We're denied understanding. We're denied respect. Police brutality, the prison
Right,
industrial complex.
mm-hmm,
All these things that we have to deal with is a denial of our intrinsic humanity.
mm-hmm,
You know, and like I said, it's hard to forgive someone when you're holding a gun because you're shooting a black man in his back.
right,
He's running from you.
mm-hmm,
You're the one with the gun,
right,
right? So how can I
forgive,
forgive
right,
you when you're the one holding the gun,
mm-hmm,
right? And it always leads back to that.
mm-hmm,
Is that I can't forgive you. I have to beat you, right? Because that's the only metric you understand and all that good stuff. And it leads into this self-fulfilling prophecy,
mm-hmm,
of what they are. They have to be that for us to continue to have this mindset.
mm-hmm.
And like I'm sure there's some people out there saying like, but they are.
All right,
They are.
yes,
And I'm not saying that
and
they're not.
not right,
I'm saying that they have to be,
mm-hmm,
right? And I'm not saying that they're doing this intentionally, that they're doing, that this is some, plot to keep you stuck. No,
no,
that's not what I'm saying.
mm-hmm,
I'm saying that, you know, when you're in the ocean, you either swim or you drown,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you are in that context, right, of when you're swimming, you're battling the ocean, battling to survive. If you drown, you don't blame the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
right? When the wildfire breaks out, you don't blame the fire for burning,
Right,
right?
because fire burns.
Fire, that's what it
It does,
does,
right.
right? That's what it does. That's how, at least that's what it is to you.
Mm-hmm.
Fire is burning,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Fire burns. And so when it burns, you don't blame the fire, you blame the person who set it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you get caught up in that. You get caught up in battling the ocean. You get caught up in doing that. But the thing is, we want to blame the ocean. We want to blame the fire,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we're the ones, using that language. We're the ones using that metric to define our reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have made themselves our enemies, right? But that doesn't mean that that's what they are to you in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
They've made you
right.
their enemy, and you have in turn decided to make them yours,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you think that that is going to help to take you out of this,
Mm-hmm.
And if you're asking me how to forgive for that from that particular mindset, then like I said, there is no forgiving because that does not exist in that metric.
Right.
He is your enemy. You cannot forgive the thing that is trying to kill you.
Right.
You have to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cow it. Control it.
Right. Overpower it. Yes.
Overpower it.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yes, basically.
destroy it,
Right.
obliterate
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
All any word you wanted to use.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only metric that is left to you.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about these particular things, obviously it is going to sound wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're coming at it from a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, I strongly suggest that you listen to our very first episode,
right?
That lets you know that that's not where we're coming from,
right?
In our very first episode, we established that Afrocentricity is not a response to Eurocentricity.
Right.
It is a mindset in and of itself that allows us to create something both within and without that can exist in any paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
It is the understanding of the history of the self, of who you are as a black man,
right,
as a black person in general,
right,
and how to be that anywhere and everywhere,
mm-hmm.
and how to create something that can exist in anything that will allow you to be a black man,
mm-hmm.
right? But if your only definition of what a black man is
inside
of this,
right.
is a contradiction,
right,
is in competition with the white man and being his enemy and defeating, them, then you haven't done the very first thing
mm-hmm.
of using Afrocentricity as a tool, as a Swiss Army knife
mm-hmm.
that can allow you to navigate any situation. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You bring a sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to use it. You turn that into a sword,
mm-hmm.
and then you're like, how can I forgive with this? Well,
right.
You can't. It's a sword. It's a gun. It can only do one thing.
Right.
If you want to forgive, then it's going to take you changing your sword
mm-hmm.
into something else.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, well, they have a sword, they have a gun, and they do.
Yes.
And guess what? It's going to take them changing their sword and their gun, right? But that's not what we're talking about here. Like I said, it's not about them.
Right. It's about
It's about us and what we're
mm-hmm.
doing. Like you're saying, healing, forgiving, these things are for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we're doing for us. Because, racism, black and white, we're better than you because we're white and all that foolishness. That's them.
Right.
That's their psychosis that they have breathed on the entire planet, right? And they have forced the entire world to have to walk that line.
Mm-hmm.
A line that, quite frankly, it is very used to walking, because if it wasn't black and white, it'll be like I say, Igbo and Zulu or whatever. It'd be some other food, some other line
right.
that doesn't mean anything,
mm-hmm.
right? Some other thing, some
mm-hmm.
other distinction,
right?
That lends itself toward this particular type of mindset,
mm-hmm.
right? If we want to get away from that, if we want to stop that, then we have to understand, number one, that there is no distinction
mm-hmm.
between the Igbo and the Zulu,
mm-hmm.
right? They're all black, period.
Right.
You're all African, period.
Mm-hmm.
That's step one. Step two is understand that there is no distinction between white and black.
Mm-hmm.
That we're all people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of that comes off as empty rhetoric. It
Right.
sounds like kumbaya stuff,
Right.
a
It sounds.
denial
It sounds as if
of
you don't want to fight.
yeah,
You. What about revenge?
justice.
Justice.
It
They
sounds
owe
like
us.
that.
We
It
owe
sounds
them.
like we're denying reality.
Right. We owe them an ass whipping.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Well, in this metric, in this
In
language,
this,
yes,
yes.
you do.
You know. However,
But don't look for
and
forgiveness.
No. And the thing is, and I actually put the quote up because I keep referencing it all
Mhm.
the time, and it's going back to something that John Henry Clark had mentioned is that when you get fed up, when you're tired of it, for real,
Mm-hmm.
you'll walk away. You will walk away. It will be no fussing, no clanking of your arm, none of that. You're going to walk away.
Well, I think we have proven to the contrary.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is that when you stop, you take your inventory. That's when I always say, when you stop lying, that's when everything else will fall into place. This action, reaction, this one-way street, it's been happening for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And it's led us right to this. We're still talking about, the revenge. We're still talking about the justice and those type of things. I'm like, at what point are we going to move as a people because we're people and we need to move? Versus, it's always about them and responding to them. And that's where I would like for us to go. I've had
But I think it's it's gonna take a lot of coming to Jesus for us, about understanding why is it that we're holding on to our sword
because it's the thing that we have. It's the thing that we have. We have that. And so
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that some listeners they're gonna think that we're crazy and that we're scared and it's that we have to have this fight. We have to do this because they keep forcing
the issue.
Yeah. If they didn't force the issue, there would be no issue. Okay? So what is it that we do have? We have that fight. Well, we have that language. That's the language that we do have now. Is to seek the justice, the revenge, and the fight, right? And so if we're not doing that, I would say physically, like we're literally doing the blows, right? When your writing, your expertise, everything lends itself to that. And if you're not, well, apparently there's something wrong with you.
Well, like I said, I think that's an element of it.
Yes.
I can't say that that's not the case. But I don't know if this is my own, cynicism coming into, or just my own impatience with us. But
it could be both.
It could be both.
Could be both.
But I would say that this comes from us being jealous.
Jealous of what?
Of white people.
You think we're jealous?
Yes. We want what they have. Why? This is why we're still here.
I'm just.
I know. I'm just,
right.
But I'm just saying.
Right.
That's what. Look.
I already know where you're going with this.
I know, but there's a lot of people who will look at
jealous?
it. No, we're not jealous.
They want what we have.
Yeah, they want.
We're the creators. We do all.
See that?
Right.
That sounds like the type of thing that a person with Napoleon complex would say. You're under. They're beating you. and yet you're like, well, they want what we have,
Mhm.
and like it's and you're here. You're marching and fighting and want to win your war because you want to beat them.
Mhm.
Why? Because they have proven that they can beat you,
Mhm.
right? Because they have proven that they are more than a worthy adversary.
Mhm.
That they are the adversary, the thing that you have to defeat. All of it moves through them.
Mhm.
I, I promise you. I swear to God, if this world was exactly the same,
Mhm.
but instead of white people at the top, it was black people at the top. You wouldn't hear not a peep from us.
Mhm.
If when slavery ended, when slavery ended and we had to fight right then and there,
Right.
and we beat them and we took over the country,
Mhm.
and then we did our version of America, you know, then there wouldn't be no problems. There would be no problems.
Mhm. So we think, yeah,
Well, not it,
it wouldn't be, yeah,
we would have problems, but
right.
we would have white people
Mhm.
problems. We would have the denial, crazy, I'm going nuts, I'm at odds with the rest of my world because everyone wants to come for what I have
Mhm.
type problems.
Mhm.
You're gonna have your own inferiority complex because you're the white man and you have to do this and you have to be that. You have to be the one on top. And when you fall short of that margin, you cry.
Mhm.
Remember when you told me about? Remember you was working at when you was going to school at Loyola,
Uh-huh.
and it was you were working at an ice cream shop,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
right?
yeah. In front of our, well, both of us, we have really good grades.
Mm-hmm.
We're like,
Had
well, yeah, we
back
have,
in the day,
yeah, back in the, we were,
yeah.
we smart up in these streets. We have really good grades, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the co-workers, he attended Loyola as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was white.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, we're just on the phone with him. I guess he called in to check out. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what happened. But in any case, he asked, you know, about, grades. I don't even know how the conversation came up, but she just mentioned, oh yeah, like I'm doing this here. Renee got this, all
Mm-hmm.
these, these fancy, oh, whatever. So a few minutes later, whatever, his girlfriend called.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's just calling the last number back, like,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening? Because he's crying. So this white guy, he's crying. Why? Because two black women
Mm-hmm.
at this predominantly white school
Mm-hmm.
has higher grades than him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just could not.
Because he was failing
Yeah,
it.
he was, and it's like, we're like, wait, what?
Like I said, when you have to carry like the weight of being a white person,
Mm-hmm.
of having to be better, because you're better, you're the white person, and
Yeah,
then you go to this school, and they come to find out
black students are kicking your
you're
ass.
not as smart as you think
Think
you
you
are,
are. Right.
right? That's the same thing as when a black person goes to predominantly white school,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're not as smart as they think they are,
Mm-hmm.
and it all falls in on itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I said, but if it was us, that would be our problem. We would be it would be two white ladies and some black dude calling with your grades, and then his black girlfriend calling back like, "What in the world is
Well,
going
yeah,
on?"
well, why? Yeah, because he's
That'd have
sitting there
been,
crying. What is going on
and
here?
that would be our struggle. But we would be so self deluded enough to not even call it that.
Mm-hmm.
We would be trying to take pride in our past failures. We're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
We look at Egypt, and Axum and Kush and ancient Ethiopia and ancient Malay and
Mm-hmm.
ancient Mali,
Molly.
ancient Ghana and stuff like that. These empires that have fallen,
Mm-hmm.
that were conquered and destroyed. Fallen, failed states and say that, oh yeah, look at what we had.
Mm-hmm.
How is that any different from white people looking back
At
on
Rome.
on the Confederacy
Yeah,
and being like,
looking back at Rome, looking back at Greece, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
look at what we had. Failures. You're trying to take pride in failures. Your pharaohs failed. Your
Mm-hmm.
kings failed.
Right.
That's what they do. It's like we said. It entrenches you deeper and deeper till it all falls apart.
Right. And so
it's like, and that's what I'm saying is that it's not. Oh, this is what we got. This is the one thing we have. No, it's jealousy. It's embarrassment.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're the ones who are supposed to be winning because we're the black people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the history and the culture, and bigger and we look better and we got better hair,
Right.
better music,
Right.
we're supposed to be winning,
Right.
right? Why aren't we winning?
Well, the thing is
And
that
all of the, and that's where a lot of
this
this
comes
comes
from.
from,
But the
in
thing
my
is that
opinion.
yes, and so but the war, right, has been defined, has been set up by, I'm going to say, the people who are winning, right? So if you want to, I'm going to say, and I'm using win and putting it in quotes, if you want to win, then this is the battle that you shouldn't even be fighting.
No, that's the battle you have to fight.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that you need to do something else altogether.
No, if you're trying to win.
Wait, if you're trying to win the way that
If you're
they're
trying
winning,
to win the war, then period.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that you're not having that type of, you're stopping with that kind of language. Like you're not doing
if
that.
If you're winning, then that's it. That's the language. You're trying to win. You're trying to win life.
Yeah. If you're trying to win if you're trying to win that they have won, then you already know what you need to do.
If you're trying to win in general. That's what I'm saying. If you're trying
if you have a shift in perspective, right? Once you have that shift, I don't see that as, I see that as moving towards something else, not even engaging in that type of language anymore.
But that in and of itself leads when you're trying. It's like when we talked about with Marimba Ani, right? And we were reading about her dissection of the Western epistemological mode.
Yeah, I think it's speak on the Plato. Yeah, really good, whatever. Excellent.
Just talking about how how Plato, really set the tone for a lot of the philosophical thought that you saw coming out of post-Renaissance Europe. And it's like, I remember even saying then that the reason why you had all these schools, and it was a very cantankerous relationship between all of these different philosophical arenas in ancient Greece, was because they were trying to win.
Right.
Plato wanted to be proven right. Right. He was trying to win the argument. He was trying to win. Be like, I won.
Yes.
That's what he was trying to do. Right. And it doesn't matter in which arena you're engaging in, as long as you have that mentality of, I need to win this, then it's going to lead itself toward this.
Right. Right. Right.
Because
the current state, the current affair of things.
Yeah,
right.
Because life is not a game. It's one of my favorite quotes from Dune. Life is not a mystery to solve, but a reality to experience. You're not born at odds with anything, other than, your nature, human nature, and the nature of reality in itself. Right? But you are not born at odds with, like nature on Earth.
Right.
You're not born at odds with the trees and the animals.
Right.
Right? It's like I said a few episodes ago, like when you're being chased by, the tiger and you're having that response, it's easy to think that your world is trying to kill you. And that you are building an opposition toward it. And everything you do you have to do it in spite of what's there. Right? You lead yourself into like you have to win. You have to win. Right? But that leads toward this dissonance. This dissonance. Because it keeps going. Like you said, it's never enough. It's never enough. You have to beat. You have to win. You have to win. You have to win. You keep going until you create, like I said, this society that is at odds with itself and its people.
Right.
And the people that are at odds with other people and the society that they're in. It is this so isolationist type thing. Like the world is more connected than it has ever been, and yet people feel more alone than ever. Like, it's hard for humanity, for humans to believe that we're intrinsically good. We can't believe that.
Yeah, anymore. Especially when you're...
It's like in a world like this.
Right.
With all of this stuff going on, how can you say that humans are intrinsically... We would rather believe that we're all intrinsically bad. And that our entire lives is just us not trying to be bad.
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Instead of human beings being good and trying to live up to that ideal. I'm not saying either one are true.
Right.
I'm just saying that
How you see it and how you
there's
right.
this black hole in the center of all of this that is pulling you away from yourself, from your family, from your society, from everything. You feel so totally alone, and you feel like your only way out. You're in the ocean
Hmm.
and you're drowning, and you feel like you need to battle the ocean. You
Hmm.
need to. I need to.
Right.
And if you drown, it's the ocean's fault because it was out to get you into to begin with.
Hmm.
You're in the middle of the wildfire and it's burning you alive, and it's the fire's fault.
Hmm.
But you're not looking at the things that put you there.
Hmm.
That, like I said, these things become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So the forgiveness and the healing.
The forgiveness and the healing that's the mindset of someone who feels like they have to give up something. Right? You're too focused on feeling on what you're not doing that you can't see what you are.
Hmm.
Right? That, well, if we're not beating them, if we're not winning the war, if we're not killing them, or creating some giant grand modern day black utopia where we can all live in peace and in spite of all the things around us, if we're not doing that, then we're losing.
Hmm.
Right? And everything you're saying is about, so how can I get to a place where I forgive them? Right?
Hmm.
Because to forgive them means to give up on the war, to give up on that, to give up on all this stuff. And it's like, in a sense, yes, but you're not seeing what it is that you're getting,
Right.
what
What you're
you're gaining.
gaining. Right.
It's not forgiving.
Hmm.
You know, that's not where this is coming from. That's not where the healing comes from.
Hmm.
Healing comes from you understanding that this that we're in right now is futile. It will not change.
Right.
The only thing that it will ever give you is what it is giving
You
you
now.
right now.
That's right. I'm about to
Whether
say
you're on top
top or at
or
the
on
bottom.
bottom,
Right.
it's going to screw you over and leave you alone.
Right. And so, the faces changes. The faces move. Right. Because right now, white people are on top.
Mm-hmm.
Black people are at the bottom. Right. And so the thing is that most of us we want to flip that coin
Mm-hmm.
basically, but not understanding it's still the coin,
Yeah.
nonetheless. So we're thinking that once we flip things, that's when things are
That's when things are start to going to look up for us.
right. And that's when we can start the healing process. And the forgiveness is when the things are flipped, and that's not
Like, number
that's
one, you
not how
never get to that.
right.
You
That's not
never you
how
never
it
get to
goes.
forgiving
Right.
because
Yeah.
when you flip it, now you got to maintain the flip
That's
and
right.
make sure it doesn't flip over again.
Hmm.
So you just get more hatred, more anger. Further isolating yourself from reality.
Hmm.
And like we said, that type of mindset doesn't lead you to healing, doesn't lead you to forgiveness, because what you're doing, at least from my point of view, it isn't forgiving.
Hmm.
It is understanding that if you don't want to feel the oppressive weight of this world anymore, if you want to get out of that black hole,
Hmm.
that wildfire, that whirlpool that is pulling you under, if you want to get out of that, then you don't have to learn how to swim.
Hmm.
You don't have to put out the fire. It is a shift in perspective of knowing that you're not in a fire at all.
Hmm.
Or this fire is not meant to kill you. This wildfire, this whirlpool is not meant to drown you. Right? There is a fire here.
Hmm.
There's water. There's
Right.
whirlpool in that
Yes.
ocean. But it's not meant for you.
Hmm.
It exists as a consequence of you, as a consequence of everything that it's existing in. So if you want to stop the whirlpool, you don't beat the whirlpool.
Hmm.
You get out of the ocean.
Correct. Right.
Right? You have to, there's water everywhere. There's water all over the place.
Mhm.
If you want to stop dealing with whirlpools, you might need to get on land.
Mhm.
And that's going to take a whole different shift because, like I said, you're already there.
Right.
You're already there.
You're
So
going
you
to
just
have to do
yeah.
something else. Right. Mhm.
And so it's a learning a new language.
Mhm.
You're not forgiving them. You're just understanding. Well, forgiveness, I would say, is a byproduct of it. Because I've said before that, I never thought that it was my place to forgive white people
Mhm.
for what has happened.
Right.
Right? Because of all of I don't know what it's like to be a slave.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in Jim Crow. I didn't grow up in these things.
Mm-hmm.
Those things still affect me, but I'm not the one who can forgive you for those things.
That's right.
The people who can forgive
You
you
do.
for that, are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
But like I said, I have since changed my opinion on that because, like I said, if this pain is still present in me, if it is still there, that black hole is still right there in me, and I know where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
The only then yes, I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I can. I must. If I want to change, if I want to change the thing that I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to stop battling the ocean, stop battling the whirlpool and learn to live in the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I want to do that, shift my perspective enough to feel to just to not feel like it's always trying to kill me,
Mm-hmm.
to understand that no, it's not a war, it's not a battle. This is life, and this is people, and the thing that is going to take to change things is not a war, it's not a weapon, it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perspective. That's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not a building. It's not none of that. All of that happens as a consequence of the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Of the mindset.
Of the
right.
mindset. Mm-hmm. Which means, like I said, so when the building falls, and it inevitably will, whether through outside interference or through time itself, it's going to fall. You can continue to be the thing that you need to be. Like I say, are we as Africans ready for the pyramids not to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Because
and I think we asked one time before,
talked about that before.
Are we Africans without our land?
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, well,
we have to
be because
right? Because the pyramids will not be there.
Mm-hmm.
Africa will not be there.
Mm-hmm.
It was never really yours to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Time has made you think that this is your land. Right? But if time has shown us anything, that it is anything but yours. The only thing that is yours is what you have created. And what have we created? We've created society.
Mm-hmm.
We've created culture. That's ours.
Mm-hmm.
All the buildings that come from that is secondary.
Right. Take you wherever you go.
Wherever you are.
Right. And we were moved to another place.
Yeah.
Okay? And we know what has transpired in what has come of that. And yet we were still able, to build a society, build a culture, those type of things, even without being on the land.
We became a new people. I would say the people, in a sense, we always should have been. Mm-hmm. At least we took the first step toward that because it stopped being, all the disparate nations of Africa to just being black.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be one people.
Right.
I would have liked. It would have been better if we would have chose that.
Right.
And it didn't have to come at the at the edge of the whip.
Right.
But we have that now.
Mm-hmm.
We have that now, for better or for worse.
Right.
And
it's ours.
And it's ours.
Yeah.
We are black, and we take that with us everywhere we go.
Right.
That's forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not about forgiving white people.
Right.
That's a delusion. That isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
It's about you learning to forgive yourself. You say, like you said, can you forgive us for the things that we don't know, that we didn't know?
Mm-hmm.
And much like can we exist without Africa? Well, you better.
Yeah.
You have.
The answer is yes. Right.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
That it's so intrinsic. Like it's not forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, if you don't want to deal with this war anymore, if you are tired of this and you want something else, right? Then then it's going to take a different perspective.
Right. And so, they keep coming. They keep coming. They keep doing this and they keep doing that. So how can we, fully be forgiving? How is it that we can move when we're constantly being chased?
You're not being chased.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean that's right. the thing.
Right.
Are you done with this mindset or are you not?
Mm-hmm.
They keep coming. They keep coming. Mm-hmm. They keep coming. What choice do we have? How can we do anything else? And it's like, then I don't think you're tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep
You know,
running.
yeah,
We talked about that.
yeah,
I think it was the lion and the gazelle. Yeah,
yeah.
that type of right.
You know, yeah. Keep running,
Hmm.
keep running, keep or turn around and face it and
Right.
kill it dead. You know, until some other predator comes along and you're going to have to run again until you work up the nerve to turn and face that one.
Hmm.
You know, this isn't like it's not hard.
Right.
This isn't hard.
Hmm.
You know, this is what happens like when the when the sheep run a lion's world,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When the prey turn into the predators,
Hmm.
you still got the mindset of the prey. You're still weak and afraid and scared.
Hmm.
But instead of running, you're consuming everything around you. And you think that makes you a brave man if
Hmm.
you're still a coward.
Hmm.
You're still a coward, right? And if they can't escape that, then neither can we.
Right.
If you want something, if you want to do something, if you want to get out of this, there isn't a building,
Right.
there's no bridge, there is no word, there is no way, there's no ladder.
Hmm.
These things are not real. Like I've said before, you cannot build peace. You can only reach it
Hmm.
because it's already there. We know what it means.
Hmm.
We know what it looks like, even outside of all of this.
Hmm.
We know what peace looks like. Anytime you try to build peace, it can't be done. Because to build in this world means you have to lead people. It means sacrifice. It means conflict. It means things falling and things rising. That's what that means.
Hmm.
And that's the thing you're trying to combat, right? You have a whole bunch of secret societies out here, right? How do you stop the secret societies? Well, you got to create your own. They're in the shadows. You have to fight them in the shadows,
Hmm.
right? And then you become the shadow monster. It's a self, like I said, you, you, death has come to you. And to defeat death, you become death yourself. And you end up going and spreading to everything else. You did not win that battle. You just ensured its existence
Hmm.
because you have become death. Like if I could borrow turn the phrase of Oppenheimer,
Right.
you know,
Right.
the man he wanted to create peace.
Hmm.
So he created the ultimate weapon
Right.
to
The
try to ensure it,
that-
the atom bomb.
right. And
And
we
what
haven't
did
had
he?
yep, and we
There
haven't
hasn't been
had
no peace
pizza
since.
since, right? As a matter of
That's
fact, that
it
that's
escalated.
right. The threat,
Escalated the mania.
yeah, the threat of even having a bomb,
Hmm. That's what I'm saying is that
but
you
has
can't
caused
build it.
right.
Eli Whitney,
Hmm.
he created the cotton gin to end slavery. He
Right.
ended up saving it. Ended up
Hmm.
saving it.
Hmm.
Let's say you can't build it. There is no building. There's no structure. It's already right there. You
Hmm.
have to reach it.
Hmm.
Like I said, this lesson cannot be taught, only learned.
Right.
There is a language out here that no word can possibly encapsulate, but you have to learn it.
Right.
That's what this is.
So that's the forgiveness. Is that it's a shift in perspective, not viewing things in terms of
Yes.
war,
Like
death.
forgiving isn't forgiving because you're
Right.
not giving up.
That's right. It's what you're gaining, what you're moving
Mhm.
towards, and so we know that someone, giving up the fight, giving up this, giving up that.
Mhm.
That's not
You just make what did you just say? You're
right.
not giving up.
You're not giving up anything. It's that you're moving towards
You're
something
moving
else.
towards something that can allow you to reach peace.
Right.
Understanding that, like you said, it's not a building,
Hmm.
it's not a structure, it's not a philosophy.
So what?
It's
So
a
what you didn't
lifestyle.
right? So what you didn't know before, you know, and I struggle
Hmm.
with that because I feel like sometimes, man, I should have known that,
Hmm.
but it was the process and the progress for me to arrive at
Hmm.
where I am now. And that's not to say I'm not frustrated,
Hmm.
because I see things. I'm like, see, I'm trying to get right with
Hmm.
the Lord here, and something happened. I'm like, see, and then I'm trying not to be lazy. I'm trying not to revert back
Hmm.
to the things that I know that are that's not conducive to what it is that
Hmm.
I want. And so for many of our listeners out there, I know that, a lot of these things may sound, soft,
Hmm.
you know, like, you know, they're the enemy and that's it. Well,
Hmm.
if they are the enemy and that's it, well, you already know where you are. You already know what you need to do.
Hmm.
Or you're looking for, a particular voice to lend itself to the thing that it is that you say that you feel like you just have to do.
Hmm.
And so for me, it's just been a process of, look, we've tried that, that hasn't worked. I am willing to try something else. And in looking at things as if, it's not this lateral, strict,
Hmm.
movement, it's allowed me, I guess, to see things, I guess, from a different perspective. So when I say forgiveness, it's not for them, it's for you.
Hmm.
It's to provide something for you. And that's the thing that I feel like you that's the thing you can't take from me. You
Hmm.
cannot take that from me.
It's to give
You know?
you. It's like when we talked about Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when Malcolm X talked about, if a snake bites your child,
Mm-hmm.
right? It doesn't when you it doesn't matter which
Snake,
snake did
right.
it. You just want to kill the snakes,
Right.
period.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter which one.
Mm-hmm.
A snake bit your that's it
That's
for the
it. Right. That's
snakes,
right. That's it. Right. Correct.
right? And I remember saying that yeah, that is the sentiment that a lot of us carry.
Mm-hmm.
But if a snake bites your child, you can kill all the snakes you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to do anything about that venom
Mm-hmm. That's running out through your child.
that's running through your veins. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you get bit by a snake, your problem isn't the snake anymore.
Yeah. The problem is, yeah, the poison that's running through
It's the
you.
venom that you got,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the solution isn't to just kill all the snakes
Mm-hmm.
because that's not going to rectify the venom.
Mm-hmm.
The solution is you have to inoculate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to become immune to the venom,
Mm-hmm.
so, to where now it doesn't matter what the snake
Mm-hmm.
does. It will never be able to kill you. It will
Right.
never be able to harm you.
Right. And I think
Right.
Jerry
So
Rawlings
that's
mentioned
we're
something
saying.
like that as
This.
well. He was the former president of Ghana. He passed away recently,
Hmm.
and he mentioned something to the effect that, you know, if we get our collective selves together, right?
Hmm.
That it doesn't matter who the president. It could be the devil himself. Is that he would still have to capitulate, and basically it was something to the effect of what was in. I don't recall which book by Frank Herbert. I don't recall which one,
Hmm.
but it's the thing about being so immovable that it doesn't matter what's happening,
Hmm.
around you, that you are still who you are. And if we say, you know, we are a loving people, that's who we are, then that's who we need to be. We know that we're going to have forces from within and forces out, to do things, but you have to stay true to who you are. And so if you look at what has been happening, there's been a lot of shifting going, well, not shifting, but there's been movement, but there hasn't been any change, right? So
Like the movement to keep things.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so you want to get out of that.
Hmm.
You're tired of feeling as if there is no end.
Hmm.
But the thing that with war is that there is no end.
Hmm.
The war doesn't end. You know, it hasn't ended for them, right?
Hmm.
They keep doing, so it hasn't ended for them.
Hmm.
So what makes you think that it'll end for you? And it's not the thing. Well, they did this to us, and you're telling me not to be, not to fight back, not to be like the oppressor. Well, in a way, yes.
Hmm.
Because we know what that behavior has caused for us. We know what that has led for us.
Because it doesn't help you.
No.
You're killing the snakes, but not addressing the venom.
Right. And so the forgiveness comes, like I said, when you understand for yourself that that is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you're not giving away or giving anything to them. It's for you.
So it's not, in my opinion, it's not forgiveness.
Right.
It's inoculation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you are arming yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Immunity.
Right.
Right? To where it does not matter the way it comes to you, what the snake tries to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all tongue and teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's all hissing.
Mm-hmm.
And it will never be able to take you down because you have grown past it. And you've moved on to a degree to where now if the snake wants to continue to live, then the snake is going to have to move.
Mm-hmm.
But to live in your world, then the snake is going to need something other than fangs and venom.
Mm-hmm.
The snake is going to have to change its nature to such a degree that it is no longer a snake. It becomes something else. That like you said, being so immovable that everything moves to fit you because you know what you want, right? So in conclusion, I said forgiveness is something. It is something that you feel like you have, like a sacrifice that you're making. That your sacrifice is something on their behalf, right? Because you're doing something that you feel like, you that trying not to win a battle, try not to fight a battle that you can't win, and stuff like that. And you forgiveness is you looking at what you're not getting, right, and what you're giving up on. But forgiveness is not, at least it's not supposed to be about you looking at what you're not getting. It's like I said, it's inoculation. It's you realizing that what you are getting, the thing that you are being able to walk away with, is immortality. You can exist anywhere, and you will be exactly what you want to be everywhere and anywhere you go. Because it's not about the buildings. It's not about, the structures or the people or the weapons. You haven't weaponized your philosophy and your lifestyle. You've, instead of trying to solve the mystery, you're just experiencing a life. And you are now choosing how you experience it.
Right.
Like I said, the snake can't stop you now. The fire can't burn you. The waters can't drown you. Because you have removed yourself to such an extent that you have changed their nature. It has to catch up to you now, and that's really what this is all about. So, really just the main takeaway, the main point, I really want to stress it, the big point I want to make is that this that we're talking about is for us. It is for those who know.
Right.
It goes beyond those lines in the sand. Those arbitrary barriers that we decide to put up between each other. This is about those who know, those who are tired of this mire, this squalor, this war, and want to move on to something else, want to get to something else, because peace is just as futile as war. You'll never truly be able to reach it, not in a world that you have to share with other people.
Right.
But reaching for peace, right? Reaching for peace necessitates a different type of action, and it creates a different type of world than trying to win a war.
Right.
And that world, the one of peace, the one that reaches for peace, that one, that's the one that is going to actually be able to give you the type of society and people that you're looking for, the type of culture that you think we ought to have. That gets you that.
You owe it to you more so than anything else. And again, I understand the angst. I understand the animosity. I understand that. But I also understand that I want to live I'm tired of just surviving.
Hmm.
You know, I'm tired of what is happening. And so I have to change how I see things. And it's not to say that others don't have to do this. As they, like I said, they have
Everyone.
everyone. They need they come into Jesus too.
Hmm.
They need it as well. But my job is to,
But they need it for them.
yeah, they need it for them.
And
Correct.
you need it for
For
you.
you. Correct. Correct.
So yeah. So any comments or concerns, leave them in the comments. And
Hmm.
thank you for the question.
Yes.
For the topic. It was very insightful
Hmm.
once again. And thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.